Chosen Season 5 has just ended, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we are done with it. The cast keeps giving interviews, and we keep getting to know them a lot better than we used to, especially when they spill some unexpected tea about their personal lives, the most recent of which was Elizabeth Tabish revealing her left-wing politics. And as you all know, politics are only on the surface. When we get into the personal lives, things get even more interesting and intriguing, especially when it comes to sexual orientation. Because, let's be honest, this is one of the most heated topics among the Chosen fandom. So, in today's video, we talk about the Chosen cast and their stance on various sexual orientations. Now, you might remember that infamous LGBT flag incident a couple of years ago, which actually revealed the show's overall stance on these issues pretty clearly. If you don't remember, here's the basic rundown. A crew member had a little pride flag displayed on his personal equipment during filming, and this flag was actually visible for a few seconds in one of the latest promotional videos. Now, this might seem like a tiny, no-big-deal moment to some, but it didn't sit well with everyone, especially some of you guys who felt it didn't belong in a Christian-themed show. The Daily Wire picked up on it and published an article highlighting the flag, and that's when things really blew up. The Daily Wire later apologized for their coverage, but the story had already gone viral, stirring up heated debates across social media. At the time, Dallas Jenkins was quick to respond. In an interview with the Christian Post, he made it clear that the show doesn't have any religious or political litmus test for who can work on the production. He said, "We are not a church in which all of our employees are going to fit under one particular mission statement, one particular belief system."
Number one, and this is very important, we are not a church. We are not a nonprofit. We're not a ministry. We're not any kind of religious or political organization.
Dallas emphasized that the team's main standard from the beginning has been simple: work hard and don't harm others or be vulgar. He added, "But when it comes to their personal belief systems, or what they want to wear or whatever, we're not going to do what we've seen other people do, where sometimes you'll see a Christian not allowed to wear a hat, or express themselves, or put a sticker on their desk that expresses their beliefs. And we always think that's unfortunate when an employer does something like that. We're not going to do the same in reverse." He also clarified that while The Chosen is about Jesus and funded by its fans, the production itself isn't a church and doesn't operate like one. So personal expressions like a pride flag aren't necessarily contradictory with the show's mission, at least from the perspective of the crew and cast. What really caught my attention at the time was how several actors from The Chosen jumped in to defend the crew member who displayed the pride flag. For instance, Gavanni Cairo, who plays Thaddeus, was one of the first voices to push back against the backlash. He tweeted to a sports journalist who called for a boycott of the show over the pride flag, saying, "Another one of the actors on The Chosen here. Anyone who's going to go at one of our family members for something like this is no fan of ours. They can close the door on the way out. Love one another as I have loved you. We stand with our brother." Jordan Walker Ross, who plays Little James, was even more direct in his response, as he said one critic to, "Get out of here with your hate, homophobia, and ignorance." Jordan later clarified on Twitter that he wasn't speaking for the entire cast or Dallas when he called out the critics, but he stood firmly behind his friend as he said, "My tweets weren't aimed at you. They were aimed at the tiny but vocal minority who were threatening to get one of our crew members fired over a pride flag. They were aimed at the people who were calling my friend awful names that I won't even repeat on here. Were my words a little harsh? Possibly. But so were the comments I was reading, and anyone who knows me knows that I am ready to go to war for my friends and loved ones." Jordan also made a big point as he said, "Christianity is not a monolith. There are gay Christians, trans Christians, straight Christians, liberal Christians, conservative Christians, etc. Stop gatekeeping the Christian faith. It's not your place to determine whether or not someone is a true Christian." It wasn't just Giovanni and Jordan, though. Luke Dimian, who plays Judas, also joined in and basically told those calling for a boycott to, "Yeah, good luck with that," and wished everyone a happy Pride Month, y'all. In total, 5 of the 12 actors playing apostles publicly showed support for the Steadicam operator, who had been openly displaying pro-LGBTQ and pro-trans symbols on his gear and personal clothing. Some of the cast even said plainly that if certain Christians didn't like it, they could just stop watching. Now here's the interesting part about Dallas himself. Although he defends his cast and crew and their right to express themselves, Dallas personally said he doesn't celebrate Pride Month or the Pride flag, calling it pride in a way that's gotten him into trouble. If I were assured, it'd probably say humility on it just because pride has gotten me in trouble. He also said, as an evangelical conservative, I'm actually probably a minority on our set. But even so, he made it clear that he loves his cast and crew and said he'd go to war for them any day. He recognized that the team comes from different beliefs and backgrounds, but the goal is to work hard together and tell the story of Jesus. He also made a point to question what it really means to call The Chosen a Christian production, saying, I'm not exactly sure what that term means. To be honest, of course, I mean, we're a show about Christ, so we're probably one of the most Christian content in history because we are about Christ. Jonathan Rumi also said a similar thing about the show.
I wouldn't characterize it so much overtly Christian, even though it's about Christ, as it is about this, the fact that it's a historical drama that centers on Jesus. And because of that, Christians, of course, are going to gravitate towards it. But I think what's been pulling in people from other areas of other walks of life and around the world, between atheists and here and there, letters from Satanists would like, well, I don't really believe in this, but you guys tell a great story. There's something to it.
I don't know about you guys, but to me, this whole situation really shines a light on something a lot of people don't talk about, which is the diversity within Christian communities and productions like The Chosen. The show's official Twitter account summed it up perfectly, as it said, just like with our hundreds of cast and crew who have different beliefs, or no belief at all, than we do, we will work with anyone on our show who helps us portray or honor the authentic Jesus. We ask that audiences let the show speak for itself and focus on the message, not the messenger, because we'll always let you down. And this focus on diversity is a running theme in the cast's interviews to this day. As I mentioned, Elizabeth, for instance, is a leftist Christian, and she often highlights how much she appreciates the show reaching to different groups of people. Once she said, one of the most beautiful parts of this show is how many people from different walks of life it's reaching. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is rare for the Chosen cast to speak about these topics in general, but we can see the reflection of their thoughts in their actions.
So this is an interview with Jonathan Rumi, the actor who plays Jesus in The Chosen, and here he openly admits to praying to the deceased Lonnie Frisbee, the homosexual evangelist of the Jesus movement.
I started work. I went over to Christ Cathedral, and I sat by his grave and I prayed a rosary with him.
But someone like Jordan, for instance, never hesitates to express how he feels about these things openly. He recently said, I've heard from fans, LGBTQ+, disabled, or just people who feel unseen, that this show gave them hope. Plus, the fandom seems pretty diverse in these topics too. Like, I can't be the only one who keeps seeing fans' videos and edits about the show's characters that are perhaps quite colorful and interesting, to say the least. Overall, I personally believe this is an interesting topic to discuss, and I am happy to see that in the fandom is welcoming of the cast's different backgrounds and views on various topics. But let me know what you think of it. For more weekly updates, analysis, and discussions on The Chosen, make sure to like and follow. Meanwhile, the video on the screen might also interest you.